while staying here, if this was the hotel I was staying at, and I feel pretty confident if I was not this hotel, then I relocated to this hotel, but I think it's where I was staying. While I was staying there, a gentleman had come to my room because he saw my ad on Craigslist. He had called. I gave the okayance for them to meet with me. If not at this hotel, then it was at the Travel Lodge, but I'm thinking it was here. It feels like almost that it's the place. And when he walked into the room, I'm very sneaky myself. And obviously, I'm not going to just let anybody walk into my room. I'm a careful observer of details, so I watch their hands, their gestures, their facial expressions, etc., etc. And when I realized that it appeared that he was uncomfortable in my presence, that was, number one, a possibility that either there was something psychologically going on with the person, or yes, he was most likely aware that he was part of a sting operation, undercover cop, if you will. At some point, when he was in the room, I acknowledged the fact that he, I guess old-fashioned wise, had wires. Okay, they do that because they record conversations and stuff. So he was wired in that way. When they're doing the sting operations, the other officers that may be on the premises, on the property, if you will, they're aware of the details of what's going on in the conversation. The second I acknowledged the wires, I changed from being a sweet, loving, caring escort and person to a very tempered, more verbally aggressive, and gave the order to get out of my hotel room. I am not a prostitute. You're a cop. And that quickly, the person got extremely nervous and kind of backed away, and then out the door they went. And because of that, and things that I've heard and done research on, I realized for myself that most likely while I'm here in Columbus for that season of time, I will not see anybody, clients and stuff. I figured I'd wait until I was more around familiar people and jurisdictions, etc., etc. People who knew more about me, I knew more about the people that I was seeing. I'm not into giving all the details away, but I would have to say that it's kind of ironic that I would be here today to share with you my acknowledgement in the fact, and I'm sure this is going to be disputed, anytime you talk to somebody who's receiving the funding to apply the sting operations, in my opinion, they should go the hell away. I don't know necessarily what the detailed answers are, except for I would tell you that it's infringing on the right to live. During the times that I was being harassed by undercover cops at any given time, somebody sweet could have been working a sting operation to help me. This brings me to what appeared to be a military man or a Fed agent that met me downtown at the Oregon District when I was entertaining, and they were trying to still persuade me and try to get me to agree to exchange money for sex. Their sting operations don't just go to hotels. That's what they do all day long. They go around and try to set up people they feel are guilty. And why is that? Because they observe them in the privacy of their headquarters. They use communication devices, cameras. They can go right into the brain, which means also that they can manipulate the thoughts in the brain. They can lure people away who are confused from their thoughts to what they're trying to instill into the human, which explains a lot of the gone missing people that used to be on milk cartons and stuff. In other words, Satanist. And what are Satanists? Those who are not for life, not just of an individual, they're not for life. The Bible comes in handy for this, for things like this. I'm not going to talk to them in the present moment, but at some point I will be calling, maybe I'll be calling the Grove City Police Department. I don't feel like talking to them today because I did my part. And what was my part? My part was to be aware of the human I'm meeting with, carefully, never turning my back on them, but always observing them, looking for things like twitchy lips or the way their eyes may move. Can they look at you? Do they feel comfortable in your presence? Okay, for me, at the time, I greeted people with a kiss. And if you would not kiss me, then I'd have to ask myself, if you were interested in meeting with me, then why would you be afraid to greet me with a kiss? See, my mom used to greet me and our friends and different people that we met with a kiss. I continued even as a singer-songwriter. When I used to play out on a regular basis, I gave lots of kisses, lots of hugs, okay? And there were some people that they were very standoffish and especially guys. But it was a small percentage because a lot of people are very warm and very friendly when they're in the presence of others that they accept in their circle in the moment. Okay, in other words, when I would be meeting and greeting with people, I'm in the present moment with them and they accept me. I'm the one who's been hosting and entertaining for the night, and they see me as friendly, and I'd give lots of hugs, and sometimes I'd give them a kiss on the cheek and we'd turn it into a laugh, okay? The male, female, doesn't matter. I'm not trying to take nobody from nobody, okay? And I did it not with just anyone, okay? So understand that. It's too much details to talk. I've realized, and more so or not, in life, it seems that interaction with people, if it's not the details of the psychological and how they should be more of like a servanthood to one another, that's beneficial for life, by the way. I'm not talking about people who unite together to harm others or other things. I'm talking about things that are beneficial for life, whatever that means. Read the Bible, let's find out. What does life mean? Okay, these are the things that I'm talking about that would entail in Scripture. More so or not is kind of a waste of time. You can be nice. Hi, how you doing? How many times you got to say that a day? Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. How are things going for you? Going good. How are things going for you? Can we ever get past that? I believe that it can be done, but you have to be more psychologically aware that you don't want to just talk to anybody. I was here long enough. I want to get one more last look. Ta-da! Chances are it's hard to hear because there's a tree here. Dun, dun, dun. We're out of here. Hello, this is Tracilyn, and I am back in my home recording studio. VCAT Productions, Dayton, Ohio. I had the opportunity to listen to my newest album, Ragtop. I titled it Could Have It All, and the nickname is kind of ragtop-ish. It feels good to be back. I went and I got some I have like little spider web veins on my legs. And right now, as you can see, my foot and my leg has a bandage wrapped around it. So I shared a couple videos of that. I go down to Logan to receive treatment for spider veins and blue veins, I guess you could say. But I have more of like little tiny spider web veins that they have been clearing up for me for a couple years. I don't get to go down as often as I would like to because it is a great distance from where I am. Rule number 1, Joyce Myers. This is, our brain is inside our head. We want to nest it somewhere where we can live safely. We don't care so much about connecting with people so much as detailed circumstances that make sense to common. In the time to come, whether Joyce Myers is still with us or not, because I have no idea, I don't pay attention anymore. She is going to be ministered to by somebody who listened to her, applied her teachings into their life because they were extremely serious, and my life ended up in true shambles. And I don't blame her. But I'm convinced that there should be promotion of information, letting people know that you should not take people seriously and apply their teachings into your personal life, because it can lead to death, amongst a whole lot of difficulties. I am going to be sharing another video in the near future. It is of a playground slash park that the gentleman that I was staying with here in Ohio had taken me to on an occasion when I was going to be playing at a venue. But I'm going to do a little bit of research for that specifically, and then I can take you there with the camera and share with you what I realized was going on with me the day that I was at the playground, and as well as back there at the hotel in Grove City. I had experienced what I perceived as things going on with my brain that made me feel like I was suffering from possibilities of dementia. Dementia. Let's look up what dementia is really quick. Dementia is a collective term used to describe various symptoms of cognitive decline, such as forgetfulness. Okay, so symptoms of forgetfulness. Forgetfulness. Okay, forgetfulness. It is a symptom of severe underlying diseases and brain disorders. Dementia is not a single disease in itself, but a general term to describe symptoms of impairment in the memory and communication and thinking. And through your eyes will become foggy-ish. Okay, kind of like a glare when you look out. Back at the hotel in this video, hopefully this is joined together, when I would go out to the balcony and I'd look across to what I thought was the Red Roof Inn, but I don't know exactly what the hotel was. I wanted to look. But I remember seeing that distance. It was kind of like things appeared to be foggy. And therefore, I was kind of concerned that I may have dementia, or I may be having something serious, a brain tumor, or something going on with my brain. So I didn't know how much longer I'd have to live. Do you know what? I knew I met a lot of people when in conversation they would discuss that they felt that way. Yet I could remember as far back as my birthday, the day I was born, October 19th, 1972. I remember the hospital that I came out of, okay? I may even remember in moments inside of my mother, which would be the womb. Not the room, but the womb. W-O-M-B. The most frustrating things that have occurred to me, if you listen to my life story, I have come to the realization that it is either a military operation against people in general, or it's people or what we perceive as aliens, which is unfamiliar life forms from an entirely different planet that plug in directly to the brain with whatever means that they use to do it. They do it. The only thing that I can say anywhere close is I ended up meeting somebody that had a device, what appeared to be a device in their chest, which gave me the inkling that they're probably hooked up via satellite and computer technology and beyond, and we probably have a chip that's put in us at some point when we're born, especially in America. And that chip is probably the number of our social security number, and whoever they want to plug in and connect directly to can. And therefore, another or many people or life forms or artificial intelligence, like a computer, okay, can be plugged into our brains and therefore it can receive all of the senses. Okay, everything that we do, smell, what we see, hearing, when we touch something, or we can even, you can touch yourselves, you can touch yourself. And whatever life form it is, if it's a person or a group of people, what have you, the sensation that you get in your brain, they get a similar, maybe even enhanced sensation. With that being said, you can realize that that would cause a great deal of challenges for all of us. The Bible mentions that we are born with a sinful nature. That sinful nature is something to observe. What is a sinful nature? That's a whole nother conversation. But a computer that is specifically programmed to your thoughts could be, or a large group of people, Satanist, in my opinion, because they're not generally for your life. Nevertheless, it was not dementia. You do not have all of America's mental sicknesses and illnesses, most likely even paralyzed states of human beings, is all done with this superior technology than we have. Which takes me back to the person I was dating before I came out. Her father was a majority of the time paralyzed to a chair with inflamed legs, swollen. I did not know this when I was an escort. However, for anybody who is an escort and you're in a hotel room, especially along the East Coast line like New Jersey hotels, Philadelphia hotels, the East Coast, New England state, there is swarms of Satanists. Anywhere from DC all the way up to Boston, maybe and beyond, there are swarms of Satanists. Okay? And I am convinced that they lead people through psychological means, ability that they have to get directly into their minds, into all kinds of things that I don't want to talk about because I've already talked about. At this time, it had to be around 2008 because the person I was staying with was a cross-dresser in our community. I ended up meeting them, which I will show you the venue unless they took it down, of where I got the opportunity to meet this cross-dresser. I was staying at that hotel, at Motel 6, whether it be at some point or the entire time. I am not sure because I didn't take the time to go to check out a travel lodge because I am staying in an apartment building since 2014 that has a major parking issue. It's a government contractual building, and they lack consideration for anyone who is intelligent, in tune, that is beneficial for 100% life circumstances. And I say this because I'm going to eventually do a topic on it, but it is dangerous pulling in and out of this facility. That's number one. Number two, the road was destroyed when I moved here, and it remained that way for a few years. I posted a video complaining about it directly to the president at the time. And the reason I did that is because, in my opinion, whenever I go around Ohio, from everything that I've listened to and now have come into knowledge, has really either inconsiderate leadership or piss poor leadership. And I came out here in 2008, and when I was staying at the hotel because I had no other means to be able to take care of myself, I posted an ad on Craigslist, and people would end up calling me because I was okay with emails, but I required that I had the opportunity to, for me, I wanted to use my senses as much as possible for the person who's going to be coming over to meet with me, okay? So with that being said, I would say overall my witnessing was 95% amazing because I'm a very good judge of character. And I did not just see anybody, okay? Thank goodness I prayed often that I would not end up in a desperate situation like that. And at times it was becoming that I didn't know what I was going to do, but I didn't want to become desperate and I was heading that way. And in my opinion, it's because there was no real way of me knowing how I could get my needs met, okay? I didn't know in the Christian community after studying for years, going to many churches, listening to many churches, I didn't, calling organizations, the prostitute for Christ, or I'm sorry, it wasn't the prostitute, it was the hooker for Christ. I wanted to talk to her about these things, and she left me sit in the parking lot. Okay, this is the kind of attitude that I was receiving from people and organizations. A list of things that if you go and watch my videos, you will find out that most of them should, in my opinion, be tested and have their licenses revoked from them. I was somebody in true need, truly reaching out. No, they don't have to do for me, but they should, by law, if they're licensed, have to provide information to anyone that calls and asks, how can I get my needs met, please? You cannot look at somebody else and say they're not your problem. You're an organization that is promoting we're here to help people. And if you get into the Christian faith, a believer in Jesus Christ becomes much like the one and only Son, Jesus Christ. God in human form, you become much like God in human form, and you are entitled to every single thing of the earth. And it becomes very complicated to live when you need money to do things in a manner that you don't get arrested by the police officers, who I have learned love to wear jeans and a t-shirt just like Bon Jovi and the worship leaders and everybody else who says it's better to blend in with the crowd, because that's what undercover cops do. They blend in with the crowd. Most of the people that I've seen were, in most situations, well-dressed compared to a lot of the undercover cops that would end up coming and see me, and that was one of the giveaways for me. I didn't see a whole lot of people in jeans and a t-shirt. Undercovers. Do you get it? I was a escort with a thought process of, we're gonna go after the ones with the big money. Okay, I'm joking around about that. Or am I? Not. Am I serious or am I joking? Because that's a book, that's a movie, that's schooling. I should have an escort schooling. I should throw escort classes in Columbus, where people can pay me money to come to my seminars, and I can teach you, accordance to the Bible, what you're entitled to and what is a real prostitute. Because in my opinion, from everything I witnessed since coming to Ohio, I would have to say that there is an extreme high volume of Satanist. In my opinion, probably very, very, very evil within the Columbus area. And I don't want to go into the details of that right now. I'm not necessarily here because I love Ohio. I'm here for many other details that would end up saying that I don't want to be here. It's where I ended up for now, but I don't plan on staying here for always. Okay? I learned that all those times I was concerned for my psychological mental health, that going all the way back to elementary school, when it was thought that I had a learning disability, that there were people, a computer, artificial intelligence, along with units of maybe all kinds of life forms that were plugged into my head. They evidently use humans for something, and it creates kind of like interruption to your brain, and therefore you cannot focus. It makes it very difficult. And they don't like when you start talking about that, because when we, people, start talking about that, we start acknowledging that we're all going through similar circumstances that stem with psychological, what would be perceived as warfare. In other words, people or some kind of life form like aliens who are attacking people, and they live in and through people. When Joyce Meyer says God does things through people, this could be very confusing because words are of God, but not the God, in my opinion, very strongly. And on top of it, this large group of people imitate as though they are God through human beings. And I was acknowledging that, especially in the entertainment industry, whether you're an adult entertainer or a comedian or a musician, it explained a lot of the details, like, for instance, Stevie Ray Vaughan and a lot of other guitar players, the way they have this unique look in their face when they're playing. You might not see it, you might not be familiar with it, but I was very familiar with it throughout my life, that especially a lot of blues players, the father of rock and roll, who wrote, one of Elvis Presley's songs that he was known for singing, it's obvious that he was dealing with serious psychological challenges, And if you look at the United States government, because that's where I'm from, the USA, born and raised in the United States of America, it would be acknowledged to me that when a child is born, they also need an account with them because there's an economy world and everything has to be purchased for. People shun the responsibilities off to other humans, groups, etc., etc. And I don't want to get on the topic right now because I'm not interested in having an hour-long video at this time. But in my opinion, I have become extremely frustrated as I am working on my music projects. I'm on my 4th album right now, trying to wrap it up. I got like 3 more songs to go. I have an invisible move date in front of me because they're going to be relocating 140. Let me tell you this, I'm going to show you a video someday. I don't have time right now, but there is about approximately 149 apartments in this building. It was built in the year I was born in 1972. So at some point while I was in my mama's womb, this apartment building was either built or being built, which meant something to me when I came here. I thought that was pretty cool when I saw the plaque downstairs. And I'm into history and stuff too, and I thought the 70s were really a great time, for many reasons. There's a lot that I would love to talk about. But what really got to me is, while I've been living here, it's been extremely highly stressful for many reasons. I post different pictures online, different videos online explaining what my frustrations are. And one of them has been that there is about approximately 149 apartments. That doesn't mean that there is not more than 149 people here on any given. I did not count all the parking spaces, but I assure you that more so or not, it's probably under 50. I'll count them. You probably think I'm kidding. I think I'm kidding because I'm wondering why the United States government, it scares me to know that we have people appointed in very serious leadership positions that make serious decisions, especially with numbers, finances. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got a question for somebody who's out there that might be in daycare or kindergarten or 1st grade. Let's use our brains, everyone. If you have 149 apartments in a building, knowing that more than one person lives in each apartment, only a percentage of them. So there may be 2 people. There may be 3. There may be children. Wow, those numbers could add up. How could we get those details? Those, what we call specs. specifications. Not to mention, we, as the human race, should, in some manner, have the availability to invite over whoever we want. Okay? We hope it's safe for everyone here, you know. But if you have friends or you have family members, like a lot of them do you think you have one family? I don't have anybody out here in Ohio. I kind of got left to the dumpster. Beside the dumpster, no family. I am associated with a couple different people, but I would not necessarily perceive, but less than a handful, what would be very close friends, okay? And maybe I'm being generous, do you think? Listening to Joyce Myers applying her teachings and listening to Joel Steen and his Stay Positive. Click your heels together. How about reality? How about let's come down from the fairy tale land and how does a person really truly get their needs met? Has it been figured out at any given time in the United States? How about we teach people into God in that they should surrender to the truth within their own skull versus surrendering to a mysterious truth that's way out there somewhere? Because I have learned that everything that people say is selfish, self-centered, all you care about is yourself. It's unnecessary. It doesn't, we see, for instance, I do music and many people would say, judges have told me I'd be better off working at McDonald's. Only Tracilyn knows I'd be better off in details that says I'd be a multi-millionaire if I was doing musical live performances the way that I know I could. That judge was an asshole for saying that. That's why there's homeless all over the place. Turn on the video, YouTube video, and watch California. The leadership in California sucks. You know, in my opinion, the leadership in California should be turned over to more respectful hands, more loving hands. Don't you think? I mean, how could they drive by, walk by? Did any of them read the Bible at any given time? I don't know what the answer is here, but I'm sure God does. You think any of them ever prayed, God, what do you want us to do? What can we do? What is our part in this? As God has already provided the Holy Bible that says everything belongs to God and belongs equally to the believer because everything was given to the one and only Son. Everything was given. Everything. Everything. And your government scratches their head and says, what, it's best to leave God out of everything. Why is that? Because God is the answer. And that is these alien life forms, artificial intelligence, Satanist, who, through their technology and their ability, go through the human race. And they're the ones who are really heavily involved in the leadership positions all around the world. These are the same life form existences that probably most likely dominate, especially the East Coast, with different climate, like weather, such as snow, sleet, hail, bolts of lightning, extreme high winds, tornadoes, hurricanes. But you don't believe me, do you? You think that's Mother Nature. You have no idea, but you believe everything that NASA tells us is true, correct? Everything they show us is way up there in outer space, a mystery to us, and there's so much more to learn. You're convinced that they would share with us the reality that there are many other life planets, formations, and stations. And maybe the spaceships and stuff that we once saw on television many years ago. Or sightings. Kind of like when I was at the trailer in Ono. And it's not only me, but my drummer also said the same thing. It was around the same time frame. We both saw aliens outside, what appeared to be aliens, which in a sense was sort of kind of like an exceptionally tall human, maybe? Definitely looked different. but a lot of similar traits. Do you think it had its focus on me psychologically my whole life? And do you think it is the reason why I'm here? And maybe babies don't necessarily come through another human being, but that's more of some kind of sick sacrifice, torture, excruciating pain. For instance, for the mother who's giving birth to a kid. You think we're tricked to believe that our purpose in multiplying is supposed to happen by me taking a body part and putting it in the body part of another one who might have been severed while they were inside their mother's womb? And maybe, could it be possible that maybe we all had penises or not? And because a percentage of us get severed along the way while in the mother's womb, you think? Maybe not everything that they're telling us is real. Or maybe something's polluting my mind with a whole lot of artificial information. Why do you think I'm special with that? Because ever since elementary school, I have claims of seeing what I believed was sort of like invisible people who were kind of like spiritual guides. Or maybe not spiritual, how about psychological guides? As they were telling me they like to change all the information in the library. Did you ever have encounters like that? Now, I don't want to get too stuck on this. If you are an adult entertainer especially, or maybe you have sex parties, you go to sex parties, maybe you're not an escort, maybe you have a lot of sex parties, or you get involved into BDSM, sadism, maybe you do a lot of traveling, maybe you're an entertainer of another kind, especially in America anyway, and you go into hotels. Have you ever noticed when you first check in and you close your door, especially you can notice the difference? It's like there's air, like frequencies that are buzzing in your ears. Yeah, is it gas of some sort? Is it energy? Is it radio waves? If you hear that, you're being monitored by something that is either for you or not for you. Sometimes I question as to whether or not whatever it is for me or not for me, or not for me, or not for me. I've been dealing with this for a long time, and all I can say is that there was an increasing meeting of what I perceive as satanic that is kind of like a creeping up, and I described some of that in my videos, so I would have to say it's probably satanic. And they're into human sacrifices and all kinds of weird stuff. You definitely want to be very careful no matter what you do, because it's not just escorts, it's not just adult entertainers. If you're a human life form, no matter where you are, if you're a child, okay, a newly born, or beyond. I had problems with grinding my teeth ever since, since my teeth came out. I have fangs. You see that? And I remember I asked people when I was in elementary school, was it my teacher, was it my nurse that was down in elementary school, was it my dentist? I said, what are these? Even my mom would say, I think. My mom would say, oh, them are your fangs, you know. You think my daddy was a vampire? Do you think so? Do you think maybe there's technology that can niche them and shape your teeth to the details? I was told that they're my eye teeth. What are eye teeth used for, do you know? I had a tendency of... Can you hear that? Grinding my teeth. And this grinding would be so loud and so bad when I was in elementary school, and even just before, ever since I had my teeth, that my mom would hear it down the hallway, and she was a very loving mother, and would check in on me. And there was times, as I was heading more towards the double-digit years, that my mom would wake me up with more of a mild, very mild, aggressive, get up. Not by touching me, but by opening my door and kind of giving a small, what I perceive as a small holler to wake up. Stop grinding your teeth, she would say. She would exclaim. She would exclaim, stop grinding your teeth. I loved my mom a lot. She wasn't really yelling at me. She was doing it because she loved me and she cared. And that's the way households happen sometimes, And I know my mother, and I know she was not penalizing me or nothing. It was her loving way of snap out of it, whatever's going on, She didn't know exactly what I'd be going through at that time. Was I having a nightmare, a dream? You must be dreaming again, she would say. You must be having another nightmare. Because sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd run over to her master bedroom and I'd start crying, Mommy, let me in bed, let me in bed. Even when I was in elementary school. Because I was scared and I just wanted her to hold me. These are memorable times that I loved very much. The grinding of my teeth, do you think this occurred? Yeah, I got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I remember when we used to get, like around Halloween, we'd get the wax teeth. And I tell people I don't need to wear wax teeth because I have fangs. Okay. Well, as time went on, I ended up going to my dentist on a regular basis. My birth dad had let me know that would be kind of a disappointment to him if he found out that I was not going to the dentist because he was providing care for me to do that. But as time moved on, I had to get there myself. That was the agreement. You have to do it. He wanted to make sure he told me, always take care of your teeth. Okay, that was very important to him, and I'm thankful it was. And parents who have children or children who are listening right now, despite what you may think of your teeth, please take very good care of them. I would recommend observing them yourself and also a dentist you feel you can trust. That's very important because just because they're a dentist doesn't mean they're necessarily good at what they do. They may be okay. You want to get the very best. That's for you. Not the best according to the rest of the world. You want to find the best match for you in all things. Because what's best for you might not be best for your next door neighbor or somebody else you care about. And you have to know that to be true. It's not always the best match in anything. So I don't want to talk about my teeth right now, but I will share this with you. If you look at my gums, you can see they're receding a little bit. Recession. Can you see it? I don't know if you can or not. Okay. Over here. Right there. Okay. Are you a dentist? I always wanted to have little tiny things taken care of with my teeth, but maybe someday. I've been focusing on a lot of other things right now. But here's the thing, check this out. A lot of my dentists told me that grinding my teeth was most likely the result of either bad dreams or extreme high volumes of stress. Okay? In other words, you're stressed out about maybe work at the time. I'm talking about later times, like in my 20s and stuff. It may be from work or from school. Are you being bullied at school? Are you going through things at school? How's your school life? How's your home life? And because I was going through a lot of things, I thought, it makes sense. I'm stressed. I'm depressed. I got family problems, serious ones at times. Yeah, very serious. And at school, well, I was bullied throughout elementary school. And I was scared shitless to go to school because of it. And I hated it because I really wanted to have friends during that time. And it was very humiliating. if you wanted to be friends with somebody and then after school they'd see you getting picked on or beat up or something, you know. Wants to be friends with somebody that gets their ass kicked. Most people want to stay away from somebody like that. Not everyone, but a lot of people do. With that being said, I had definite reasons to believe that it was because of my recession in my teeth. I'm kind of watching my timer and stuff. My teeth. Okay. My gum lines. You see them? They're kind of receding a little bit. You see? So I go in every 6 months and they clean them really, really good. And this helps sometimes for your gums to start getting back to normal. Okay? But I was always told, number one, you want to take care of your teeth the best you can. Get your regular checkups, get a regular cleaning. I get them done twice a year, most times. And I get x-rays like every 2 years for me because, thank God, I have not had really cavities or nothing. I did through childhood. In elementary school years, I had a couple things that occurred that was awful to me. You know, I am one of the people that may be of the smaller percentage of Americans that ended up having what they called a horse tooth doctor years ago. Because they used like really huge, big pairs of what appeared to be like pliers. It's like an old school kind of dentist. And yes, I screamed. But the dentist later on, not the same. Much different. And thank goodness they have been preserving my teeth. I had an awesome dentist when I was in Pennsylvania. I had 2 of them. One of them was most of my entire life. After the horse tooth doctor, I ended up, my dad found another dentist, and I was going to him for years. And he truly was one of the nicest people I've ever met, which unfortunately you don't see that too much anymore. It's out there, but it's a small percentage in the human race. But all of my dentists, every one of them, said similar things. Well, getting back to the hotel, and it took time till I was in the recording studio, I realized it's the technology of them plugging into my brain, and it sends like electrical pulses and what we know to be neurology issues and like tremors, and if you feel what some people may perceive as like throbbing on the body at different parts, or maybe your lip jumps and stuff, or your eyelid twitches. If you're experiencing that at any time in your life, then it's not about you being a victim. It's a definite. Okay? Chances are that you have been plugged in with them your whole entire life. And they can cause little tiny bumps. They can probably put them anywhere all over your body. I would say that they're responsible for all forms of what we call cancer, diabetes, psychological disorders, every single one of them. I don't like to say about this, but I'm convinced people like Michael J. Fox, who have, I forget what it actually is with his body that he goes through problems. I forget what it's called that he's going through, but it's all from the same source. And in my opinion, according to the Christian faith and with the Bible, I would say this is the result of an attack on humanity by whatever is extremely high volumes of demonic forces. It's almost like there's another life form that really does not like humans at all. And the majority of what would be perceived the human race's problems, they would be the ones who are most likely in on it. Evidently, God's grace is available for me because I'm still alive, and I've been talking about it for a while, where most people you would assume would perish. They'd be missing. They were trying to get me to leave the country when I went to Las Vegas. For some reason, they don't flat out right attempt to hurt me. They seem to stay a respectful distance from me, but they look at me and they talk as though they cannot lay a finger on me for some reason. You think I have some kind of protection? You think something's inside of me that really loves me and maybe is a superior existence and will not let them harm me? This would kind of go back to the season of time where I explained a car that I was racing launched over my car, and the more that I thought about it, it was almost like, with the way it occurred, laser technology or energy weapons, direct energy weapons, aimed to have that car run into mine, but something protected me like a shield of protection. In other words, that this stuff is really real. Other powers that we are unfamiliar with. And I realized through all of this that I have reason to sing and dance and praise the Lord Jesus, the mighty creator, whatever that is. Thank you, for I do not have dementia, for I do not have memory loss, but I remember. When I was sharing this video, I wasn't 100% sure what hotel I was staying at. I might have been at the Travel Lodge, and then I changed hotels, okay? With this specific situation, it's very important that you understand it's not about memory loss or remembering. It's about the circumstance that occurred, and I did. I was very thankful as I pulled into the Motel 6. Into the corner, I realized I stood at this very spot, the second floor. These are the staircase. My feet walked up and down. During times that life was becoming extremely challenging, and they were going to continue to become even more challenging. I am surprised that I am still alive after going through all the things that I did. A lot of people would end up missing, dead, or seriously injured. And the only thing that I can say in all honesty is that I prayed every day. That God would help me. And keep me safe. And take care of me. And provide for me a way. I spent a lot of time alone. And like I'm crying now, I cried almost every day. But when I was around the presence of others, I would smile and be really happy. And the happiness was genuine. And that's what was weird for me, is I could genuinely be happy. And when I was, everything else that was concerning me disappeared from me psychologically during that time. There were times that I would become extremely nervous, and I would step outside on those balconies, and all I could do is wish that things would get better. And I would smoke. And I would just be nice to anybody who passed by. I never really thought that I was going to be heard. Not once. I knew to be aware. And the ones I was scared of the most? Cops. While they're playing the Three Stooges and setting people up and framing people, because that's what they do. They do it undercover too, which I think is ignorant, cowardly. It puts things in your head and whatever else is rotating it along, meaning other forces. Is it Fed agents? What is it? They have a wheel of meditation, and this can cause, anybody knows, that's why they do it, is instilling fear into the brain of people through thoughts, words, continuously rotating and meditating. Okay? There's a good chance that isn't you, a you. There's more going on and something else is doing that to throw you off. Because our brains in their cells are probably a heck of a lot more powerful than we realize. And we are able probably to do a lot more. And maybe the ones who are attacking us or part of the attack are humans, other humans, that think that they're superior than us and don't like a majority of the human race. And maybe they live 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1,000 years longer than we do. And that's why they try to minimize the human race, and they continuously avert and create all kinds of problems to keep us from our eternal meaning always going on, destination. And we might be able to transform into different, more than just humans. I don't know the details, but they're out there somewhere. Something knows more than we do. I'm very thankful that as I was sharing the story, more and more started to come very clear. When I was standing on the second floor and I looked out around me, I could see much clearer. And I realized, as I have been realizing, that all those times that I was speaking to somebody else, like the gentleman that I came out here to live with off and on, and I felt like I was losing my mind, and it was very scary for me to witness and not losing my mind. And I'm not finding it either. I'm realizing that when I was buried in the human race and relationships and everyday life and all the things that I was enduring and going through, and plus I was an entertainer in music, which means at times I might not just be with the bartender, but an entire room filled with people. And I was continuously going about life, making phone calls and talking and online networking. And in my family, and I also had a personal ministry where I would minister into the lives of others, all age groups. I had my dog. I had my girlfriend at the time. And it's a little bit more difficult to realize that once you seclude yourself from the human race more, because of good reasons, let's say, because of good reasons, you finally start to acknowledge that there's much more going on, and when you are with other people, they're not the only ones in the room with you. There's much more going on. My producer had told me it's all about sex. In other words, like Americans are being observed, watched by a bunch of perverts, evidently. It has been known by others that I met in the music industry that they pretty much agreed and said the same thing, only I didn't really know what they were talking about, because when it came to musical endeavors and doing business, it was a lot of honest, hard work to achieve what I was doing. I didn't have sex with people to achieve it. What you serve, for the most part, is what occurs out of that. And having sex with people didn't lead to better times for me when it came to my musical endeavors. I'm sure they could have eventually, but not necessarily so. Okay? There's something much more going on because throughout my whole life, I had a lot of complaints from me that I felt like no matter what I was connected to, who, humans, it always seemed like something wanted to have sex with me. And that I was familiar with. And it was frustrating. Because I don't like to really be in the presence of somebody that you can only be in the presence of them for a small amount of period of time, and right away it's into the sex thing, whether it's in conversation or passes being made on you. Very frustrating to me. It's not that I don't like interacting with intimate encounters with other humans. And I was okay. Understand, I was okay being an escort. I happened to really find my place psychologically, more in tune. I learned a lot about myself and my own truth. And I never want anybody to think that I did not like being an escort, because there's a lot that I did. Not just making money to stay alive or to pay bills or to go to my doctors or whatever, you know? It was a business for me, and I felt that I was very good at it. And I had room for serious improvement. And I mean, when I say that, I mean I understood that there's a lot more that I could do. But there was a huge, huge, huge inside of me to enter more into the life that I truly desired, if I were to surrender to that truth. And that's what I'm doing now. And it's a long, long process. And knowing the details that I know today, I would encourage people, be familiar with your brain and all the thoughts that are within it. Pay attention to what you're watching, what you're listening to, who you're listening to, what kind of conversation are you engaging in on a regular basis? Because there's something else more in tune than we are that is in the conversation with you, and they are trying to keep all of us away from the absolute truth as to why we even exist or what we should be doing with our lives and our servanthood. They start becoming much, much more aggressive. I got what I call sunspots, you see that? I sat in this chair in my studio while I worked on my music, and they literally do something to our bodies that they can put rashes all over your body. And that's something I also heard and could confirm by the York officer or sergeant or whatever rank he was that was in my hotel room then. He was letting me know that there's much more going on and that they can cause all kinds of problems. And it's true. And I started to realize that a lot of the people that I have loved as I went through life, a lot of the things that they're going through, if not everything they're going through, is because they are being messed with. We all are. Hold on a minute. I have to change my battery. I learned that from that guy on YouTube. I gotta change my battery. I like him. I don't like too many commercials, but I like that guy. Can't think of who he is, but he does something like that, and he made me laugh a lot of times in my studio. I hardly ever watch the YouTube commercials. I usually watch it countdown with it on my volume on mute because I'm against commercial. I feel that's programming. That's part of the programming process for us. They try to program us to believe the worst of everything instead of the best of everything. I'm going to change this around.